ran across a t-shirt the other day at a store, and it had a neat little puffed 3D effect on it, and it reminded me of something that's often done in quilting. It's called Trapunto, and I wanted to do this type of design on a t-shirt, and I just thought it would be a neat little project, kind of something that's kind of different, unique. This is an example of a Trapunto quilt. You can see that due to batting being placed behind it and the dense stitches around each little element of the design allows it to make it more of a 3D dimensional design. So we're going to try to do this on a t-shirt. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Corel Draw. I'm using Corel Draw because when I tried to do this same thing in Stitch Era, I had to do a little more editing of the vector image only because of this font that I'm using. A standard font, you could do this same thing in Stitch Era alone and not have to use Corel Draw. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and create our text. I'm going to do, because since we're heading into the holiday season, and I'm going to do the word hashtag thankful. I use the font, I found it on dafont.com, and it's a nice little handwritten type letter, so I liked it. Okay, let me choose the thankful. Okay, there we go. Now there is not a bold option function for this font. Okay, so in Corel Draw, what we have to do is we have to add a border around it to make it thicker and bolder. So to do that, we select, this is our fill color, this would be our outline color. As you can see on each item, there is not one. You right click, I'll show you with an odd color what it does, and you can see that we added the border there in the pink. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to change it from hairline, and I'm going to make it pretty thick. I'm going to go to a 4 and then hit OK. I'm going to do the same thing with the word thankful. Let's go here. One thing I wanted to also do to make it a little bit cleaner was I rounded the corners on that. I'll go back and do that on the hashtag. Okay. Let's do that, and we're going to round the corners. It just cleans it up a little bit with that font style. Okay, one thing you will see here that these items are also still separate images. If you try to bring them over before doing this, you're just going to have gaps where those are in the vector. So what we're going to do to fix that is we've got to do this. Go to Object, Shaping, and Weld. Okay, see it took it all into one spot. And I will turn this black now so it will give you a better idea. See? I realize you lose a lot of this right here, this K here, but we're going to adjust that when we go to digitize it. And we're going to bring this down. And okay, now we're going to take these two items and we're going to, again, we're going to weld them together and combine them. There we go. Now let's go over to our Stitch Era software. Go to Artwork, Get from Application, and Get from Corel Draw. We're going to right click, we're going to copy and paste in place. We're going to turn the next one, let's turn it a different color just so we can see what happens. And we're going to select the initial one. We're going to do a layout, contour with offset. We're going to do an outer contour, custom. .120. We want a solid offset, and red is fine. Okay. Now these often right here, it'll create a lot of different little pieces and artifacts. You just remove those. We just want the initial background shape. Okay, now let's move this up to the top. There we go. Now we're going to select the initial design and that vector. We're going to right click, combine, exclusion, and what that is that's going to take this design and remove those parts. So let me show you what it looks like. There we go. That's the part that we want right there. That's the main part of the design. Now I'm going to we're going to go to embroidery. We're going to go to uniform area with pattern. You can use any pattern you want to. You could even use some programmable stitches if you find one that works. This is, in the very scheme of things, this very small area. Some of these areas are very narrow, so I just chose to do just a standard fill on this one. And I'm going to make my density, we're going to go a 5. Because we are doing this on t-shirts, I don't want it to be bulletproof. 5.0, and then enter. Underlay, we're going to use just an edge run underlay. We're going to click auto and then auto complete. Okay, it gives us our little arrow. And we're going to select each area. Okay, when it has the little marching ants around it, you can, that item is selected. We also need to do the inside of each letter. So hold down your control key and do the insides of each of these letters. Make sure we got that one. Let's click in there. There we go. All right, I think we have them all done. Yep. And then we're going to hit enter and generate our stitches. I'm going to hide our vectors now, and you can see here there's our design. Okay. Okay, let's change our start and stop point. Scoot it up here. Let's put it at let's put it here. And our ending point is, there it is. Scoot it over here and just put it there. And then hit enter and regenerate our stitches. Okay, another adjustment that I did do a slight amount of pull comp. I did a proportional 1%. One more thing we have to do is adjust our stitch angles. Okay, defaultly they will always going to come in just directly horizontal, and I'm going to just bring it up a little bit just to give it, to make sure it's not just horizontal. Okay, one thing I also like to do in my test stitch out when I did these, I want to adjust these. These, whenever it comes to stitching, it starts getting very narrow and you lose kind of the puff effect. So I'm going to adjust the placement of the inside of some of these letters. All I'm going to do is to scoot them over just a little so we can have more of the puff effect around each side. Oh, another thing we have to do is Go to embroidery, start. I always do this, start point at first section, end point at last section, and center our design. Okay, let's take a view of this in simulation mode. Okay, we have a couple of here. We might have to either manually trim those, or we can go ahead and do a trim. We'll make sure those are done. So here, this is going to go on the front of a t-shirt. So let's head over to the machine and I'll show you how we stitch it out. Okay, we're over at our hooping station now, getting ready to hoop our shirt for our Trapunto design. Now, I have the hoops set up on this, centered on this device. However, where I want to place the design, it's not exactly centered on the board. So what I did was I took a piece of tape, because I have marked my shirt of where I want the center of the design to be. I put a little crosshair right here on the shirt, and I just stuck a couple of washers under this piece of tape, and when I go to hoop this, I know that I can make my shirt the design center by feeling that little raised area right there. Now, the unique thing about this style of stitching is I am using no stabilizer. This is a piece of cotton quilt batting here. Now, I've also have 2 layers of polyester batting. We're going to just kind of set that across the center of the hoop here, and when we hoop it all together, it'll be sandwiched between the shirt. So we're going to just kind of center it in the middle. Okay. Now, again, you'll see why I needed to, if I put this shirt on this device like you normally would, it doesn't quite sit center where I thought it should be. But I figured out, here's my mark, and then I can reach under here and I can feel that washer is about right there. Let's scoot this up here. We're going to make sure our shirt is straight. Okay, and we have all of our batting. And I'm feeling my washer in there, and it seems to be pretty good. And we're going to hoop the device. Okay, we've just stitched out our design. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. I made one of those typical boo-boos where I forgot to change the needle thread color. So I had some yellow stitches here. I'll have to go in and pull those out. Thankfully, I caught it before it got too far. Now, this is what we're left with on the back of the shirt. Because there is polyester batting in here, you cannot iron this. All I'm going to do, I think, this is just for me. If y'all can think of a better way to do this, then that would be better. I'm going to trim away the polyester part of the batting as close as I can to the design. I'm going to trim away this and then just do a nice, a circular pattern for this. And I think that's going to be soft enough for the t-shirt for it to wear comfortably. Okay, and so I'm going to trim it all out and I'll show you the final product.